Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome on over to another episode of Speak the Truth podcast. I'm your host, Matt Tardio. Today we're going to be going over the plane crash and a bunch of other stuff that happened. And it's not even a plane crash, it's a mid-air collision. It's starting to look like it may have been the fault of the Blackhawk crew. We're going to talk about the day first. I'm just going to go ahead and play this little moto video while we're waiting on everybody to roll in, and then we will get into everything for the day. Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad you guys are back. That was just a quick little, I don't know, moto video before we start getting into everything, because we got some pretty heavy stuff to talk about. We're going to be going over let's just start with, I don't know, man. We're just going to have to start with facts. And I'm going to go ahead and move this and save this for a little bit later on in the show. Let's start with some facts about what was going on down there over at the Ronald Reagan Airport. So first I'm going to pull up is going to be the press briefing that ended up coming out this morning.
We are now at a point where we are switching from a rescue operation to a recovery operation. At this point, we don't believe there are any survivors from this accident. And we have recovered 27 people from the plane and 1 from the helicopter. The district office of the medical examiner has lead on reuniting these bodies and these people with their loved ones, and we will continue to work to find all the bodies and collect them and reunite them with their loved ones. We should also acknowledge that the Virginia medical examiner and the Army medical examiner are involved in this operation and a very important part of getting the people identified. We are now at a point where we are switching.
So it went from I mean, you heard them. They're going for a recovery operation. It's pretty bad. I've got the specifics on the 2 aircraft that were actually out there and probably some additional details that we're going to be going over today. If you are unaware of what actually ended up happening, I've got videos of it coming right up, but we had a 64 passenger and 4 crew members aboard the Canada Air regional jet, be CRJ 700. It's going to be PSA Airlines flight 5342. It was on an approach into the runway in Dulles. It got told to switch from one runway to the other right towards the end. They end up accepting the change in runways, and as they're doing that and they come in, it looks like this Blackhawk was just flying straight. So we have this plane that was banking left, and it'll be clear when you see this video, plane banking left and the Blackhawk essentially coming straight into it. Let's just start with the video of what actually happened. Let me see if I can get this sucker up on the screen. For some reason, there's a bunch of them that are choosing not to work right now. I couldn't really tell you why, because I had a ton of them. That's weird. I don't know why they wouldn't want to do that. So first we're going to go ahead and we'll start with the radar of the incident. Let me grab that sucker and get it up on the screen so you guys can see radar wise what ended up happening. And here it is, and you should be able to hear. I'm going to do my best to crank the audio up on it. This came out from Colonel Jeff Fisher. He actually provided this with us so that you can see exactly what ended up happening. And down at the bottom here is the actual civilian aircraft. Up over here is the military aircraft. I believe these are the runways. And what you're going to see is this sucker comes in and starts banking left, and then looks like he's on approach over to this one runway here, and that's what put him on the path. It's just an overall sad situation. I don't know how else to describe that. Audio's a little bit quiet, so I'll do my best.
Yeah, we have part of
So there again, you can see that Black Hawk coming in. Um, there should have been alarm bells going off on that Black Hawk at this point, I do believe. I'm not sure why they didn't have them, if we're going to be perfectly honest about it. And there it is. That's what it looks like on radar. Now, it's very hard for me to make out what they're saying on that, but according to Colonel Fisher, who you guys may remember, I had him on here a couple different times, he actually put this information out this morning on the flight. He's pretty squared away when it comes to, operations of military aircraft. I think most of you guys are aware of that. He said American Airlines flight was asked to transition from runway 1 to 33 quite late in the approach. The pilot had accepted the request. The helicopter declared visual separation in the recording. He says it's clear that was not possible. The final turn for the American Airlines flight onto runway 33 approach was a descending left bank, likely obscuring the left seat pilot's view of the helo, which was on an ascending path, so it was going up. There's also a statement that ended up coming out by the military today, out of the DC area. I know we had talked, well, I'd planned on going live last night, but software updates ended up giving me a giant pain in the butt. This is from Christina Wong. She is the Pentagon correspondent for Breitbart. So I'm going to go ahead and take her word that this is what the military actually said. And I think that's perfectly reasonable. She said, while performing a training mission, a United States Army UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter from Bravo Company, 12th Aviation Battalion, Davison Army Airfield, Fort Belvoir, Virginia, collided in midair with an American Airlines Bombardier CRJ-700 regional jet flight 5342. The FAA, the NTSB, and the United States Army will investigate. The NTSB will lead the investigation. We are working with local officials and will provide additional information once it becomes available. This is a very, very sad situation as it goes in. And of course, this is coming, like 2 days after the F-35 fell out of the dang sky up there in Alaska. For the life of me, I can't understand how that happened, but it did. I don't know how else to explain that. I mean, it freaking fell, and now we've got our aircraft crashing into other ones. And it's just a really, I don't know, troubling statement. Yeah. I'm going to read to you in just a second here a quote from somebody that's part of that air crew, and they're gonna talk to you guys about it. Apparently, these are some photographs that are coming off of the scene. I could show you guys the mid-air collision here in just a second if you would like. But here you can see rescue boats that are out pulling things out of the water and getting up there. I know a lot of people I see in the comments talking about DEI and everything else. I don't know if that's the case, guys, to be perfectly honest with you, and I'll read that for you here in just a second. I mean, at the end of the day, these things are piloted by human beings. This one doesn't have the conspiracy theory smell to me. I don't catch any of those vibes. But man, dude, this is just sad. I don't know how else to say that other than this is just sad. When I was in Virginia, we would have some training flights and things like that we'd end up hopping on, and we'd be racing up and down the Potomac on Blackhawks, just flying nap of the earth, going down the river and everything else. Here you can see what appears to be chunks of the aircraft out in the water. I mean, that is just tough, man. That is just tough. I mean, it's just right there. I mean, you got the Pentagon right there. You've got Ronald Reagan right there. There's another base out that way. Here you're about to see the collision itself. Let me get that up for you. If you guys haven't seen this yet, it occurs right back here. There's much better videos of this taken. Here it is. We've got the Black Hawk approaching right here, going straight in. You can see that aircraft on a flat trajectory-ish, and then just collision. Yeah, pilots get tunnel vision as they start going in, I'm sure, but I wanted to read this to you guys because it sounds accurate. right? And I want to do my best to dispel a lot of rumors of any crap that might be going on here. And I, do my best to provide you guys with accurate information. This tracks. This gentleman, Mark McEthron, said, I was a Black Hawk helicopter crew chief in the Army. I was even a flight instructor. This means that I trained crew chiefs and ensured that they were completed all training annually to maintain their flight rating. Now, for those of you guys that do not know what a crew chief is, let me show you where they're positioned so you have a better understanding of what he's talking about. Because I understand that not a lot of people do. So I'm going to pull up some images over here. These are, here you go. This is a good image for you to kind of get. This is coming straight out of DVID, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay. But your crew chiefs on the aircraft, one, you have like the gunner seat that's kind of like sitting right here, but the crew chiefs are the one that are out there. They're loading the aircraft. They're doing a bunch of pre-flight checks, all sorts of stuff. If anybody's flying, they're the ones that give them a brief, but they're also in communication with the pilots throughout the entire flight. Okay. And their job is to look out. Like once this sucker goes up in air, that's one of the biggest things that they end up having is they just get up and they stick their heads out the dang window. All right. And they're just constantly on the lookout. They're constantly looking for, other airframes. They're constantly looking for targets. If that's kind of a thing, they're looking for the other aircraft that might be flying in formation with them, all sorts of stuff. And they're very professional human beings. I've done a lot of work with them, and I don't think I've ever been allowed to get on a helicopter unless it was just some weird shit that was going on or in actual combat, getting picked up in combat. Other than that, I mean, they're briefing you freaking every step of the way. So with the respect of that, understanding who that gentleman is and what his role is now, I want to read to you, or what his role was for so long, up to and becoming, a flight instructor and training crew chiefs. I think it's pretty important that we listen to what this man has to say. One massive responsibility we had was to be the eyes for the pilots. We handled airspace obstacle avoidance and communicated potential risks to the pilots. Quite often we would train as a flight of 2 or 3 birds flying in formation. It was my job to have my head out the window and to tell the pilots that the aircraft behind us was staggered right at 3 discs. He's talking about the rotor blades and the measure, like the diameter of the rotor blades as they go out. He said, these birds are designed to be hard to see at night. Very true. The red and green lights on the side get lost in the lights of the city below. The only lights on top of the aircraft are called slim lights because they are very, very, very dim green. Incredibly difficult to see. If you are above the helicopter, even if it has its floodlight or spotlight, 2 different lights on underneath it, it is still hard to see the bird because of all that illumination is being below the airframe. Another thing that people should know is just how busy things can get inside of the aircraft. Pilots are talking to each other about what they are observing on the instrument panels. This means that neither are looking outside of the aircraft. The crew chief might be conducting a fuel check where we would also be looking up into the cockpit at the fuel gauges and the clock. This can lead to moments where 3 people on the aircraft are all looking inside of the aircraft. It is not supposed to happen that way. We're supposed to announce when we are coming inside or back outside the aircraft, but that doesn't always happen. Also, in cities like DC, the radio traffic is constant and can make it hard to filter out what is important for you to listen to. Checking instruments, doing math, reading checklists, and listening to multiple radios all at the same time is hard, and mistakes happen. Anyone out there yelling or telling you that they find the aircraft collision to be suspect, have never been on a flight crew, and have zero idea what they're talking about, ignore them all. Better yet, mock the hell out of them. 999 times out of 100 or out of 1,000 aircraft incidents always come down to a series of pilot and crew errors. Humans are involved. They aren't perfect. Tonight, my heart and mind is with the families of those involved in the tragic accident, and I won't join in the chorus of idiots making speculations. Now, that's important for everybody to understand when it comes to these aircraft. So what he's essentially saying, because as I told you guys on this flight radar, let me get that sucker back up on the screen because it's a very good visual representation. What he is saying is because that aircraft, the civilian jetliner, was coming at a downward angle. All right. So as he's coming in at this downward angle and the helicopter's obviously ascending as it's going through, that they are going to end up being very difficult for that air crew to see. Okay. So you can picture this is the civilian airliner, which it is, and this is the Black Hawk. So it's coming down, and they have all of the city lights that are down below it. So while the Black Hawk does have some lights on top of it, they're being drowned out by the city lights. So the pilots inside of that aircraft likely would have like not been able to see this, because it is a UH-60 Black Hawk. It's a military helicopter. These things are used extensively at night, and they are designed and painted in order to stay hidden as they're in flight. It is a tactical aircraft. So it's an unfortunate event. I don't know how else to say that. The information about the pilot being told to being asked to switch runways at the last minute, in conjunction with him banking and turning in to go over towards that runway, to me doesn't say conspiracy at all. And the fact that he collided with a Black Hawk tells me that, you know, everything that crew chief stated is true. One of the first thoughts that I had was the lights on that Black Hawk and how shitty they are, and how difficult it would be able to make that sucker out in the middle of the night. What does the 4 mean, or the V? These are the flight numbers that are coming in. So that's PAT 25. Those are the flight numbers. Everything else down below it, I am not familiar with. So the 4 or the V itself is the direction of flight, like where it's coming in from. It's just how the computer system's configured. I hate to tell you guys, it's a tragic incident. It looks like probably close to 100 people have lost their lives in this. I mean, it is just tragic over here on American soil. It is just tragic. 100 people likely, you know, that flight could have anywhere between, depending on the version of the aircraft, anywhere between like 68, I think, to 78 people on it. It's just an extensive amount. I'm sure the families are being notified about it right now. This is some flight radar that came out last night showing some of the search and rescue aircraft that were in the area, actually circling it, taking a look at everything. The V means the aircraft has the airport visually. Well, there we go. Thank you, Exton Man. I did not know that. I am not a pilot. I greatly appreciate you. I've got a lot of rides on them. Never flown the dang things. I did at one point in my career try to trade a day at the range and a bunch of cool guy stuff to some F-16 pilots overseas to see if I could get them to bring me up in the back seat of one of the aircraft. But apparently people were really upset about it. And it's just my thoughts on it. Here's a situation on the ground last night over outside of the airport. And there you can see like all of the rescue boats and everything else that are kind of like down over here. This actual area that this guy is filming from kind of reminds me of a place that I'm going to end up not bringing up. But I had some speculations about where that aircraft could be going and who could be on it because of the type of flight that it was. But it doesn't appear to be that way. It just looks like a routine training flight that had gone wrong, that had just not... Austin Wilcox coming in. He says, I am an aircraft mechanic for American. It's tragic, dude. This is absolutely a tragic story. I can't imagine, man. That just sucks. I mean, it's human error is what it is at the end of the day. It's a sad case on both sides, what appears to be human error. Now, something very interesting that other people brought me onto, and this is where, again, conspiracy theorists are going to come into play. So just so you know, this is out there. Now, I gave you a bunch of facts about how crappy the lights are on top of the UH-60, which is what you currently see on your screen. I give you a bunch of facts about the UH-60. I mean, look at the dang thing. It's going to be hard to spot at night, right? It's just the way it is. You'll notice that this one, however, doesn't have pilots in it. And now there is a conspiracy theory of people going around saying that it was this version, possibly, that the air crew was using this version of the aircraft in order to, I don't know, that it was autonomously flying. Evan, I see you down there, buddy. Yeah, I can hear you. I appreciate that this technology exists. I personally, I highly doubt this is one of the things that was going on. And if, you're a commercial airline pilot, maybe you can confirm this as well. I also got told that, they're required at some point in time that some of these aircraft have like automatic takeoff and landing. It's on them. You push a series of buttons and like the airplanes go out. I'm not sure if that particular airframe has that. Most people, aren't going to end up not using that. But while we're at it, there's a lot of people also that are blaming this on DEI, saying that the standards have been lowered inside of the military to the point where it's just undisciplined. And I honestly tend to agree with that statement. The problem is when it comes down to these specialties, right? Like these specialty type, positions when you're, and again, we've got an Apache pilot in training down here that's in the chat. I mean, you can complain and you can say the military's gone weak and soft all that you want, but you have some very stringent standards to be able to do those particular jobs, to either be a pilot or to be a crew chief. There's some pretty like strict standards that end up going into it, and even like your briefs and everything, like everything just leading up, it's tragic for that to happen. So they were professional, and it just appears to, like, in my opinion, they were probably pretty dang professional, and it was just human error. I don't know how else to state that. Hey, Matt, I saw a report. This is coming from Chris V. He says he saw a report that it was a U.S. Army Gold Top Black Hawk, one meant for VIPs. Yeah, there is a lot of those over in the Washington, D.C. region. I've flown on them. They do look like a standard Black Hawk from the outside when you end up seeing them. So it's just going to look like a regular Black Hawk. But when you open it up, the doors, there's like carpet inside, leather seats, headsets for everybody to be able to sit there and communicate with while you're going back and forth to wherever it was you were going. So those helicopters absolutely exist over in the region. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities for them to be using one for a training flight, even if that was the case, because those flight crews need to put in training hours. It's a thing. With that being said, we're going to go over here because a lot of people are blaming DE&I, and we're going to bring up this clip right here from Fox News with Pete Hegseth.
What's happening with DEI? How's that going at the Defense Department?
Well, DEI is not going well at the Defense Department because it's dead. We will, as the president said in his inaugural, we will be merit-based and colorblind, and that is the case at the Defense Department. DEI is going to be ripped out root and branch, because we want everyone treated equally with high standards and held accountable with warfighting, lethality, and readiness front and center. We don't have time for emphasizing differences. Jesse, one of the dumbest phrases in military history is our diversity is our strength. Our diversity is not our strength. Our unity and our shared purpose is our strength. And the Pentagon is excited to get back to that core mission. It's happening rapidly. The services are responding, and those that don't want to respond can work somewhere else. So diversity, equity, inclusion will not be a part of the Defense Department, not a minute long.
What's happening?
He's not wrong. Like, our strength is our unity, our ability to work together as a team, and all of that. Diversity played no part on that air crew whatsoever. That air crew should have been working in unison. Everybody should be watching each other's backs. And the reason why that's so dang important is from what you just saw. When we focus on diversity, when we focus on anything other than our mission, and we get distracted by that, it's sad. It's just absolutely, totally sad. The amount of training hours that I know that flight crew had on DE&I and all sorts of other garbage could have been spent doing something else. And it's very sad and it's very tragic that is the way that our military has gone over time. But I will tell you that the government is doing their best to go ahead and take care of it. DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. Department of Government Efficiency. You got to love it. They ended up finding $45 million in DEI scholarships in Burma. That has since been canceled, and they are very freaking proud of it. They ended up tweeting that out not that long ago. So they are doing their best to start crushing everything as far as DEI goes. those are gone. There is plenty of other stuff that ended up coming out of Doge as well. The support across the United States for government employees and everybody else appears to be pretty high with a lot of Trump's policies he's putting out. This tweet actually got put out by Elon Musk, imposing a hiring freeze on all federal government agencies. You can see support versus non-support sitting up inside there. So downsizing the federal government, look at that. Look at downsizing the federal government. They're jumping in with like overwhelming support on that. It's absolutely insane. Results are based from an online survey of 1,034 U.S. adults, January 24 through 26. Margin of error plus or minus 3.9%. That I don't know, man. I'd have to look at the dang polls. Yeah.
I appreciated they took back that tough talk, but we may have tough talk from others, but it's not going to mean anything. They're going to all take them back, and they're going to like it too. They're going to like it. They're going to take it back, and they're going to like it. Today,
From what I was told, the context of the statement has to do with the illegal immigrants, and that he is going to end up taking their people back, and that they are going to have to like it. Well, that's pissing off a lot of people in the United States of America. Down here at this rally, wow, that blew out my ears, man. I am so sorry. What you're actually looking at here in this is people that are protesting ICE agents over inside of Georgia as they're like going through the town. At least from what I've heard, that's what's happening going on over there. They're pissed off at ICE for coming in and ripping out illegal immigrants. And so people inside the United States of America don't necessarily all agree with everything that's going on. This is, like I said, while you might have strong support for the policies, it doesn't mean he has overwhelming majority by any means on these policies. ST_RC came in. He said, just listen to the ATC playback. Pat 25 called visual clearance 2 times just before impact with no confirmation of and alt or location. Break that down for us, STRC, here in just a sec. Texas Actual says, this is a sad tragedy, and I hate that the Dem clowns started their BS trying to blame the new administration policies for this accident. Rest in peace to the heroes flying that bird and to all on the plane. Dude, I had no idea that people were trying to blame this on the Trump administration already. That's pretty sad. And if you are going to bring it, you better bring it with facts for different things that are going on. I will take you guys down quickly over to the Mexican border, and I'm going to show you guys what was happening at the Mexican border. Here you have Hidalgo, Texas. This is CBP or ICE that's escorting a bunch of captured illegals and taking them back across the border. Holy crap. That comment from Drive-By Shooting. I'm a first officer with American Airlines and PSA and flew from Tulsa to DC last night in an identical CRJ-7. American Airlines flight 5608. We landed at 8:42 p.m. AA 5342, crashed at 8:48. Man, that is heavy. That is really heavy. The statement kind of reminds me of a lot of what we heard after 9/11, where there was people that were late for work to get to the Pentagon, or were late to work to get into the office, or they missed their flight and they were worried about, like losing their jobs or, doing something like that. And it's just kind of one of those odd survivor guilt moments that you end up having that you're like, man, it's like blessing in disguise, but you didn't realize it at the time. Holy crap, man. Holy cow. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and play this.
There's something very deranged in the mind of the far left in this country, where I really do think that they feel more of a sense of compassion for illegal aliens who have no right to be in this country than they do their fellow citizens. And that really has to change. And, when Selena Gomez had her viral moment, and of course there were a lot of other celebrities who weighed in, I had people sending me photos of little kids, sometimes kids the same age as my little children. We've got, of course, a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 3-year-old.
It was a great scene, by the way, when
Thank you.
Your son's playing with your hair.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But you know, kids similar age to my children who were murdered by criminal aliens in the United States of America. And as an American leader, but also just as an American citizen, your compassion belongs first to your fellow citizens. It doesn't mean you hate people from outside of your own borders, but there's this old school, and I think it's a very Christian concept, by the way, that you love your family, and then you love your neighbor, and then you love your community, and then you love your fellow citizens in your own country, and then after that, you can focus and prioritize the rest of the world. A lot of the far left has completely inverted that. They seem to hate the citizens of their own country and care more about people outside their own borders. That is no way to run a society. And I think the profound difference that Donald Trump brings to the leadership of this country is the simple concept, America first. It doesn't mean you hate anybody else. It means that you have leadership. And President Trump has been very clear about this, that puts the interests of American citizens first. In the same way that the British Prime Minister should care about Brits and the French should care about the French, we have an American president who cares primarily about Americans, and that's a very welcome change.
What is
I think that's a pretty valid statement. ST_RC coming back in, and he says that Pat 25 had requested, that would be the Blackhawk crew, had requested visual separation, which Tower approved with no confirmation of location or altitude. I'm assuming that is a big mess up from ATC, and again, they're going to end up looking into it. Like I said, it's very tragic. Look, you know, it's one of those things where you have an aircraft that's ascending and an aircraft that's descending. Clearly, this, in my opinion, right, as we look at it, and it's gonna be hard to get away from this today, but clearly when we look at this, knowing that, you know, the AA flight had been told to switch runways and that they approved, that to me, just within itself, seems like a huge mistake, right, from ATC. I feel like air traffic control should have done a much better job here. If air traffic control actually told them to switch runways, then they should have made damn sure that that flight path for that aircraft was going to be clear. The flight path for that UH-60 going past that airfield, correct me if I'm wrong, pilots that are in the chat, it's got the visual over the airport. They've checked in with ATC. ATC is going to know exactly where that sucker is coming from. So why, oh why, in my opinion, did they have them switch, switch runways? As opposed from just having them circle? Was it something that he was just, the airport's stacked up and they're trying to fit these flights in, trying to get people to stay on time, everything else? But it definitely seems like it was a mistake of ATC. 100% agree with you. ATC telling them to switch runways and then start approaching 33, I believe it was, with Pat 25 coming by. Dude, that's a problem. The ATC essentially put that American Airlines flight on a collision course. You can see it pretty dang clear. And what it definitely appears to me is like that Black Hawk was coming over, getting ready to like kind of go down, land on the runway, and that's kind of where it went through. We could pull up, the overhead of the freaking airport and everything else. It doesn't really matter. When you start talking about the lights and the runway and how everything's going to end up drowning itself out. But at the end of the day, this is, in my opinion, a huge failure of ATC. Austin Wilcox says, as an aircraft mechanic, ATC seems responsible. Yeah, I would agree with you in that statement. They are juggling a lot of aircraft. They do have a lot of things going on, but that is, in my opinion, not an excuse at all to just shortchange it and not make sure that flight path is clear before you put somebody else on it. And those pilots, both the pilots from Pat 25 and the pilots from the AA flight have all of their faith in ATC that what they are being told to do is correct. Yes, they would have proximity warning systems. However, I do not think that with the speed both of them were likely traveling at, they would have had time to react. I could be completely and totally wrong. I'm going to need some pilots come in the chat and actually confirm that, or whether or not that stuff was even active around there, because maybe it's one of those situations where it's going to set everything off because you have so many dang aircraft. I don't know. I'm not a pilot. What I do know is that according to Colonel Jeff Fisher, that the American Airlines flight got told to switch from runway 1 over to runway 33, and that the UH-60 was on its way up. Like you guys had just said, it asked for clearance, and it's just human error. It's just human error. I don't know how else to say that. My first question was, where was ATC? Yeah, well, that is the first question that most people should have when reviewing this tragic accident, is where the hell was ATC? And it, again, you know, that statement that I read earlier from, you know, that crew chief that trains everybody, just, it really does, in my opinion, bring a lot of freaking, it should make sense to a lot of people, or how that ends up happening when you have that stuff go on like that, where you do have freaking, where you do have those types of collisions. And when you look at the lights, when you look at everything that was going on over there, it's very easy, in my opinion, very, very easy to get these things like, I mean, it's just sad, man. Again, it's aircraft supposedly a little bit higher than the UH-60. UH-60 is on its way up. This would be the UH-60 right here in the center of your screen, this light. And then the other one that it ends up running to, of course, is the American Airlines flight. And you can see the amount of aircraft that are actually in the air out there that are just buzzing around. That airspace is extremely busy, so I could see how this would have occurred in that manner. But again, this is, in my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of people, it's just the fault of air traffic control and not doing their damn job. We're going to get back over to immigration real quick, because I do have it queued up for us to go over today. Texas Actual says, sent you a New York Post animated 3D video of the collision based on videos and flight path data. Ooh, that sounds interesting. Let's go ahead and switch over to that real quick before we get into the immigration portion. Let me open that up for you guys, and we will go over what Texas Actual just sent to me. That sounds like a pretty dang good thing for us to be going over. So give me a sec. It is loading. That update from my system last night, man, that was a pain in the butt. So I'm having a couple, technical difficulties as this is loading as we go through all this stuff. But let's go ahead and give this a listen. Wow. And that looks about right. That looks about right. As you see it coming in. So like I said, flying down the Potomac, normally UH-60s will be doing stuff like that, but that aircraft coming in, like I said, at runway 1, I'm not sure which one, but going to 3-3 would be putting it on this approach right here. It's a massive, tragic mistake. There's no getting around that. That is just a tragic, tragic mistake. Whether or not that is the mistake of crews, which could be involved, but air traffic control is going to have to own this one. They're going to have to eat it. Drive-by shooting. Runway 1 has ILS. 01 was expected runway, but ATC sent us to fly the localizer to 01 and land on 33 due to northwest winds gusting from 12 to 25 knots. Okay, so they were jamming that runway because of the winds. That would make sense. So they want to change your approach angle for the landing due to the winds. That makes sense. That tracks. But if you're going to be doing that stuff, you got to make sure you clear those approaches. You know what I mean? That's like 101. That is your main concern. Austin Wilcox says, may God bless all of the families involved. Kenneth coming in, he says, missed my super 2 mics ago. Forbes breaking news channel on YouTube uploaded a video of ARC comms this morning. Ooh, let's go check that out. Let's see if we can listen to the comms of them coming in. Let me grab that and get that up on the screen. Sorry that I missed you there, brother. Always do my best to try to keep up with the chats and make sure that always do my best to make sure that I'm keeping up with the chats, and I'm able to like stay there with you guys. I'm a one-man show right now, so it's a little bit more difficult to keep up with it. But you said it was Forbes breaking news, so let's give that a look and give a listen to that white report. Excuse me, give me a sec here. I'm assuming that they ended up putting that up in a video. Trump's Middle East, blah 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 blah. Did they put it out in a short? Like, how did they put that out? I'm assuming this is the one you're talking about, Kenneth. Kenneth, just go ahead and tag me because I want to be able to find this video that you're talking about. Linda Lou says, thanks, Matt. Matt, the guy from the Amazing Racist video yesterday, is a comedian. He's famous for his name. He literally was on a podcast that brought Mexicans live on stage. He's a Jew. Oh, that's good to know. ST coming back in again. He says, VAS Aviation has the full convo uploaded just now. All right, let's take a look at that one. That might be easier. And
nice. I just found a freelance accountant on Fiverr.
As soon as we're able to get past that, we'll pull this video up. Here we go. Let's give it a listen.
Yeah, 79, contact Stone Parks, good day.
Have a good day.
American 3130, for the final.
Well, American 3130.
Pad 25, traffic just off the Wilson Bridge to CRJ at 1,200 feet, start from runway 33.
Scott has a traffic inside, request visual separation.
This separation proof. American 1630, tower runway 1, lot boy, traffic through start from runway 33, dispatch 16 mile final.
Line up runway 1,
Whiskey 5307, keep rolling out to November, ground 47 today. American 16, turn to 1 star 320 at 14, Galaxy 5, traffic 2 mile left base runway 33, no delay, runway 1 clear for immediate takeoff.
Number 1, clear for takeoff, American 1630.
Pad 25, get the CRJ in flight. Pad 25, pass behind the CRJ.
Pad 25 has a aircraft in sight, request visual separation.
Good separation.
American 4782 by Baton, not for visual.
American 472, Washington Tower 1 star 320 at 17.
Oh man, they saw it.
Alright, this is Win. Did you see that?
American 472. American 3130, go around, turn left end 250, climb maintain 3000.
Okay, left heading 350, 3000, American 3130.
Tower, Blue Streak, 5347 is on final. Request runway 33, circle to 33.
Second heading for American 3130.
American 3130, go around, turn left end 270, climb maintain 3000.
270 on the heading, 3000, American 3130.
Crash. This is alert 3. Crash. This is alert 3. Crash. This is alert 3. Oh, shit. Where's the alert 3? It is off the approach end of runway 33. Approach end of runway 33. Helicopter crash. Helicopter. Copy out this morning. Crash. This is alert 3. 2 helicopters. Well, helicopter CRJ approach end of runway 33. The approach end of runway 33, a mile long final. Crash. Kilo CRJ, approach end 33. Okay. How many souls on board? We don't have any of that information. I was reporting a CRJ and a helicopter crash in Potomac River.
Wow, man.
Can we go ahead and hold all operations till we have emergency units respond? We're going to go ahead and show the aerodrome closed. Yeah, that's affirmative. Hold all operations, aerodrome closed.
And everybody just hold your positions, please, on the field right now.
South 43, ready for taxi.
Everyone's going to have to hold for down. I'll get back to you just as soon as I can. Fire Command, the accident happened in the river. Both the helicopter and the plane crashed in the river. It's east of the approach end of runway 33.
So for you guys that are asking, how can you get this, or how were they able to get this so quickly? The FAA actually publishes this information. Like all of these towers are recorded, and you can actually go on, if you go over and you Google it right now, and you know the time and the air traffic control tower that you want to look up, you can actually take it and pull the audio. It'll give you a 30-minute clip of the audio, and then you just have to go to this particular section, and that's how they were able to get it. So they just went over there, grabbed it, downloaded it, and then did the visual representation on it. This to me is kind of like one of those most powerful things right here as it goes in. And I kind of want to watch this again because I want to listen to the communications from the pilots to ATC.
Yeah, 789, contact don't mark, good day.
Okay.
American 3130, slow to final.
Well, American 3130.
Pass 25, traffic just off the Wilson Bridge to CRJ at 1,200 feet, start runway 33.
Scott has a traffic inside, request visual separation.
This separation approved. American 1630, tower runway 1, lot void, traffic throughout, start runway 33, dispatch 16 on final.
Line up wait, runway 1.
Whiskey 5307, keep rolling out to November, ground 47, good day. American 1630 to 1 star 32014, Gulf 25, traffic 2 mile love base runway 33, no delay, runway 13 for immediate takeoff.
Number 1, clear for takeoff, American 1630.
Pass 25, get the CRJ in sight. Pass 25, pass behind the CRJ.
Scott has a aircraft inside, request visual separation.
Good separation.
What did he say right there? Because he asked him if he saw it, and then he asked for visual separation.
Pass 25, get the CRJ in sight. Pass 25, pass behind the CRJ.
Scott has a aircraft inside, request visual separation.
Good separation.
He said it was approved. So there it is. And those are the key words. And I know you guys had talked about a lot of it. Visual separation, if you want to know what it means. It's employed by ATC to separate aircraft in terminal areas and en route airspace in the NAS. So that aircraft the Blackhawk had requested the separation, meaning he wants the frickin' space, and they approved it. So it definitely sounds like this is the fault of ATC without the shadow of a doubt at that point. That's, I think, who you would end up blaming that on. Dylan Rawlings coming in with a $1.99 saying, look up the close calls at DCA due to air traffic control. Dude, I will lose it at this point. I think if I do that, because I got a feeling that there's a lot of mistakes that have been happening and that people haven't been let go or moved out of their positions. And likely, I think once they end up digging into this, and it's unfortunate, and I'm, again, this is speculation, this is assumption, but, something that I've noticed is that we have an issue of getting rid of people when they don't perform correctly due to tenure or anything else. It just annoys the living crap out of me that when they do investigate and they pull that up, and again, we can go back and we can look at, we can listen, to hours and hours of air traffic control. Like I said, it's all pre-recorded. So if anybody wants to spend that amount of time, you could easily go back, look up, that particular tower out of Regan, and you could essentially listen to that air traffic controller and see how many other mistakes that they've made in the past. If it comes out that that was the case and they ended up keeping them around, I really sincerely hope, like just for the sake of America's mental health, that this wasn't a DEI hire that they just continued to employ and they couldn't let go because of DEI policies and crap like that. That would be absolutely freaking disgusting if that was actually the case. Super Crime, I see your message, and I am going to, that's going to fit in perfect with the video that I'm putting together for today. So I'll make sure that I put that on there. Dylan Rawlings, looking at the close calls at DCA. Yeah, we can definitely do that. If you guys are curious how you can look that stuff up, let me know. We'll do it. Let's give that one more listen for the actual approach and issues. A lot of you guys were asking whether or not there's going to be alarms, things like that on the aircraft. You can clearly hear the collision alert that's going to be going off right there.
Line up wait, runway 1.
Whiskey 5307, keep rolling out to November, ground 47, good day. American 16, turn to Wind Star 320 to 14, Galaxy 5, traffic 2 mile left base runway 33, no delay, runway 13 for immediate takeoff.
Number 1, cleared for takeoff, American 1630.
Pass 25, get the CRJ in flight. Pass 25, pass behind the CRJ.
This club has a aircraft in flight, president separation.
Good separate.
American 4782 by Baton, now for a visual.
American 472, Washington, 1 star, 320 to 17.
Alright, this is Win.
So I guess the other question that is likely going to arise out of this investigation, and I know we got some people that are, military helicopter pilots that are in the chat right now. So the other question I would have is knowing how maneuverable the UH-60 is in comparison to a civilian airliner, and knowing that they were on this crash course, and knowing that they ended up calling then telling them to pass behind it, and then they asked for visual separation. Is that the pilot's mistake? Seriously. I know he requested it. I know they said approved, but there is some onus on this Black Hawk crew. If we're going to be like the pilot that called for that, whatever crew, whatever warrant was in charge of that, I would think. Because...
Whiskey 5307, keep rolling out to November, South 47 today.
The Black Hawk says that they saw the aircraft. The Black Hawk says that they saw the aircraft. Michael Mayo says, I don't think you understand. Visual separation means it is the responsibility of the BH to maintain separation from the CRJ since they can't see it. Aha. Thank you, Michael Mayo. I appreciate that. So visual separation is the pilot that maintains it. So the pilot, the chopper, could avoid it. They didn't have to ask for permission. It's that close. And I see a lot of people that are agreeing with that statement. I'm not a pilot, and that's why I, ask you guys that know these things to actually bring this out. Oh my goodness. Somebody said that there was a USA figure skating team on board. I'm going to have to look that up because that's going to be not good.
American 16, turn to 1 star 320 to 14, Galaxy 5, traffic 2 mile left base runway 33, no delay, runway 13 for immediate takeoff.
Number 1, cleared for takeoff, American 1630.
Pass 25, get the CRJ in flight. Pass 25, pass behind the CRJ.
60.
This club has a aircraft in flight, president separation.
Good separate.
American 4782 by Baton, now for a visual.
American 472, Washington, 1 star, 320 to 17.
Alright, this is Win. Did you see that?
American 472, American 3130, go around, turn left in 250, climb maintain 3000.
Okay, left heading 350, 3000, American 3130.
Tower Boost Streak 5347 is on final. Request runway 33, circle to 33.
Regan heading for American 3130.
American 3130, go around, turn left in 270, climb maintain 3000.
270 heading 3000, American 3130.
Crash. This is alert 3. Crash. This is alert 3. Crash. This is alert 3. Oh, shit. Where's the alert 3? It is off the approach.
So I dropped a poll. We've listened to this a couple times. We've had commentary from everybody in the chat that ends up coming in down that live stream. And I'm asking in the chat, after listening to all of that, who do you think is at fault, the Black Hawk crew versus ATC? Right now, it looks like, well, you know what? I'm not going to influence the vote on that. Go vote, knowing what's on. You can vote for both. Yeah, I wish you absolutely could. ATC, in my opinion, should have been able to see that coming. I've done little bits of controlling aircraft in a combat environment. Dude, that's just unacceptable. Just totally unacceptable. That can't be a thing. That should never have been a thing. I did look up that information about whether or not the figure skating team was on board, and it does look like that is a thing. So I'm going to pull that up. I haven't read up on it yet, but I'm going to blow it up on your screen here, and we're going to kind of go through this together.
A collision involving an American Airlines passenger jet and a military helicopter. Well, this morning we have learned that some of the people on board that plane were U.S. figure skaters, their coaches, and family members. They were returning from a development camp that followed the U.S. Figure Skating Championships in Wichita, Kansas. The jet collided with the Army helicopter last night as it approached Ronald Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C., crashed into the Potomac. The plane was carrying 64 people. The helicopter had 3 on board. Right now, rescue workers are searching the frigid river for victims. They updated the investigation moments ago.
We are now at a point where we are switching from a rescue operation to a recovery operation. At this point, we don't believe there are any survivors from this accident. And we have recovered 27 people from the plane and 1 from the helicopter. The district office of the medical examiner has lead on reuniting these bodies and these people with their loved ones, and we will continue to work to find all the bodies and collect them and reunite them with their loved ones.
So U.S. Figure Skating has released this statement. U.S. Figure Skating can confirm that several members of our skating community were sadly aboard American Airlines Flight 5342, which collided with a helicopter yesterday evening in Washington, D.C. We are devastated by this unspeakable tragedy and hold the victims' families closely in our hearts. A short time ago, Russian officials confirmed that 2 former Russian skaters who won the pairs competition at the 1994 World Championships were also on board. Both were skating coaches in Boston. We'll have more on this tragedy in Washington all day here on ESPN and on ABC News.
As if we didn't have enough
right now,
crap
you are
to
most
worry
likely
about.
aware.
Now we're going to end up having people that are going to come out and say that Russia's involved. So now we're going to have more conspiracy theories thrown out on this. The Skating Club of Boston said 6 members or associates were killed in the crash. The executive director of the Skating Club Boston said skaters Gina Hahn and Spencer Lane and 2 of their parents were among those killed. Also killed were Evgenia Shishkova and Vadim Numov, who won the pairs title in the 1994 World Championships and competed twice in the Olympics. They were listed as coaching at the Boston club. That is just really, really sad. I mean, it's sad that anybody died last night on this, but the USA figure skating team, obviously, like Olympic teams and everything else, just takes that just a little bit closer to home for America, I think. And we've got enough issues and problems going on right now in our society that we shouldn't have to be dealing with this crap. You know, we just absolutely shouldn't. I don't want to say I'm disgusted. I'm just, my heart hurts. You know, my heart just absolutely hurts. While I have a moment with you guys, I want to let you guys know about something that's going to be going on. Now, I've been for quite some time, have been complaining and asking for some, how do you want to say, help, recognition over the situation to do with Sergeant Stanley's death following the pier in Gaza. And interesting enough, I sent this video over to Grant Stinchfield. I'd let him know that this was an issue and that I was trying to bring some attention to it. For you guys that are interested, you guys can watch me on Grant Stinchfield tonight. I'll be on there right around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to actually talk him and the American people through this incident and what actually happened. If you guys are unfamiliar with this incident, by all means, tune in. I also have this video up over on my Twitter account, and I just ask that you guys go over there, take a look at it, listen to it, understand everything that happened to it. Everything in this video are actually facts, and it is just sad to me that this took place. So tonight I'll be on Stinchfield to be able to go over that with the American people. Put the link in the chat. Yeah, I can do that for you guys. You want the link to this video in the chat? I will 100% do that. You guys go over there, take a look at it. I'm doing my best to make this... I don't want to use the term go viral because that sounds bad, but you know, the idea is to spread awareness for this because it needs to happen. If you guys haven't seen this before, I'm going to pin it to the chat and then I'm going to play it and we're going to talk about this tonight. So if this is something you're interested in, again, I just posted the link in the chat. Go over to Stinchfield tonight and watch, because I'm going to be on there and we're going to be going over this. America, I'm making this video because I need your help. This is Sergeant Stanley. He's dead. He died on October 31st of 2024, and he died from injuries sustained while on active duty. And yet the Army did not announce his death. Now, he was injured while helping out with the construction of a $320 million humanitarian aid pier for Gaza. Now, Sergeant Stanley was injured while constructing the humanitarian aid pier for Gaza, which cost the U.S. taxpayers $320 million. And to quote military.com, they said the circumstances of Sergeant Stanley's injury, as well as its severity, have been shrouded in secrecy ever since military officials confirmed foreign reports that 3 service members were injured on the pier mission in late May. This trend continued through his death, which was not publicly announced by the Army. As a matter of fact, the only reason that we know he died is because of his obituary that got posted online, as you can see right here. And it has no mentions whatsoever of how he was injured or what led to his death. Now, the United States military and the United States government is keeping this quiet, likely for one of 2 reasons. The first one being the fact that they didn't need a humanitarian aid pier in the first place. Now, as you can see, this is the UN's website, and what you're looking at is an executive summary from a famine review committee that got tasked out for Gaza, and they conducted the survey in between March and July. And highlighted on your screen, you can actually read it. It says, in this context, the available evidence does not indicate that famine is currently occurring. That means that there was not famine occurring in Gaza, and yet the U.S. military was busy building a humanitarian aid pier for a place where famine was not occurring. Now, it was such a failed operation that news organizations like the Associated Press said this is how the U.S. built pier to bring aid to Gaza worked or not. Because the reality is they didn't get very much across it in the first place, and it was only actually operational for a couple days. Now, the second reason the United States government probably is trying to cover this up is because this pier was anchored in Gaza. I'm going to zoom in on Gaza for you and show you right where that pier was anchored. And as you can see, I've got a line going out, and that line's going out of the Gaza Strip for a reason. Because if we zoom out and we go 24 miles to the north of the location in which the pier was anchored, and I flip this sucker over, you're going to see this. This is the port of Ashdod. It is actually within Greater Israel, and it's secure. They could have put all of the humanitarian aid into that port right there and had it shipped into the Gaza Strip. Instead, they chose to get our service members injured and killed in order to make this public PR stunt possible. This, ladies and gentlemen, needs to be a congressional inquiry like no other. We built a humanitarian aid pier, which we didn't have to because there was a perfectly good port 24 miles away. And additionally, we spent $320 million of U.S. taxpayer money in order to make it happen, and this man lost his life. If you are upset about this, like I am, demand action and spread this word to every single congressman or government representative, senator, whoever you have connections with, so we can get answers and his family can know that the American people still care. I am a little bit worn out, ladies and gentlemen. I was up late last night till about 1 a.m. to make sure all the streaming software and everything was updated. I was trying to go live last night with everything about this incident, but unfortunately, computer software update basically screwed me. So I had to uninstall and reinstall everything. So before I jump off this morning, I want to give you guys the morning devotional. I'm going to get back to doing those because I have been a huge failure at doing them. And so I want to make sure that I start doing this for you guys. I still don't have my reading glasses up here. I forgot to bring them, so please bear with me. This is coming out of Proverbs 17. It says, the crucible for silver and the furnace for gold, but the Lord tests the heart. No one said getting from where you are to where you want to be is in your walk with God is easy. Jesus warned that you would have trouble in this world. It comes from John 16. James said you should rejoice in trials because of what they produce in you. Paul compared his life to harsh athletic discipline. Solomon compared it to gold in the refiner's fire. When you pursue Christ with all of your heart, you love a life that challenges the world around you, and you may prompt a hostile response. The world hates him and all who follow him. That draws you into spiritual warfare. The enemy uses all of his power to deceive you, block your way, and make you pay a high price for following God. You often need to run, you often tend to run from the resent struggles. You want glory without the cross, but it never happens that way. No one said it would be easy, just worth it. Prayer that goes along with it. Dear God, I know you want the best for me, so purify me as gold is melted into a furnace so that the impurities can be scooped off. Help me to yield to your process. In Jesus' name, amen. Sorry about the readings being a little jacked up. My eyeballs are really blurry. I need to go get my readers and get them back up here so that we can do those devotionals. 3 a.m. Forge, happy to see you back, becoming a true supporter, man. Always good to have you in the house, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't yet, please consider becoming a true supporter. It's $4.99 a month and seriously helps this channel out to be able to keep things running for you and bring you just unbiased truth, all right, when we end up getting there. Minus when it comes to terrorism. There is bias in there. I hate terrorists, but I will still give you the truth on everything and how it goes down. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I am out of here. Peace, love, happiness.